feel that my front cover conforms quite a lot with Real Media text in a variety of ways. The initial layout of my front cover is completely different to my final front cover, as I wanted it to look appealing for my readers and meet their expectations. My initial front cover consisted of a font I had taken from dafont.com. I felt that this font fitted in with the theme of a pop music magazine due to the heart included in it. I personally think that the heart in the font made my masthead pop out and attracted my target audience. I had initially decided to make the whole text of my masthead the colour purple. However, I thought that by making the heart another colour, it would result in making my magazine looking more bold and vibrant. I came up with using the colour red as one of my feature colours due to the red lipstick my model was wearing. I had not considered to use the colour purple as another feature colour until I had used Photoshop to change my model's top from burgundy to purple. I had initially decided to use the colour burgundy and red, however, because they're quite similar colours, they didn't look too appealing together. So I used Photoshop to change the colour of my model's shirt to purple, which resulted in making the colour scheme of red and purple much more appealing and made the magazine as a whole look quite bold. I feel that my masthead follows conventions to Real Media products due to the use of bright colours, which help to attract my target audience as well as the graphic the font uses. The main image which I have included on my on my front cover, it also meets conventions because of the fun way in which the model is posing. According to the research I had conducted before creating my music magazine, I had visualized that the majority of artists on the front cover they were females. So I also followed conventions and used a female model too. I also observed the way the artists were posing and asked my model to pose in a similar way. The image I have used on my front cover was the best as compared to the rest of the images I had taken because it was a very fun and girly pose. Another way in which my image follows conventions is due to the angle of gaze. All Real Media products which I have researched consisted of the artist looking directly at the camera, which establishes a connection between the artist and the reader. Therefore, I also asked my model to look directly at the camera, which followed conventions very closely. I decided to place my artist's name and pull quote just below her face because I thought that it would be the next thing that the reader focuses on after the main image. I chose to write her name using the colour red to make it stand out from the rest of the page, and the pull quote was written in white as I thought that the contrast of red and white would help intrigue the target audience and it would be the most prominent feature on the whole magazine. However, I later decided to swap the colours and made the artist's name white and the pull quote red instead, because this helped to bring out the artist's name and the reader, it would attract them more. I had also initially decided to include a banner at the bottom of my front cover, which consisted of posters, because when I had conducted my research, I saw that majority of Real Media text, they used a banner at the bottom, and I thought by including this it would help to intrigue my target audience, as it would be an incentive to buy the magazine. However, in my final front cover, I decided not to include the banner because I thought that my magazine looked more professional without it, and by including the banner, it didn't meet the expectations of my target audience. Also, the images that I had taken to put as the posters, I didn't feel that they were good enough to be on the front cover of a pop music magazine because they didn't meet with the theme of a pop music magazine. Therefore, I thought that I would subvert to Real Media text and not include the banner. But then I conducted another research and I found that there were other magazines, for example, Top of the Pops, which didn't include a banner at the bottom. So this showed that it wasn't necessary that I had to include a banner. Also, in my initial front cover, I had thought of including only about 3 cover lines because I thought that including too many cover lines would make the pop magazine look really clustered and unappealing. However, for my final front cover, I chose to include more graphics and a lot more cover lines to make it stand out. I feel that the use of graphics helped to bring out my music magazine as a whole a lot more to my target audience, because I feel that it met their expectations from the feedback that I got, and also because it helped to make my magazine look way more professional than the initial design that I had started. And the layout, I think by changing that, it helped to make my magazine look like real media text. I feel that the cover lines which I included on my final front cover, for example, win tickets to Bieber's concert, I think these kind of cover lines, they act as an incentive for my reader to buy the magazine. The feedback that I received for my final front cover from the age range that my music magazine is aimed at, I received stuff saying that the color scheme was very effective. The use of the colors red, purple, black, and white, they were really effective because it meant that it was easier for the reader to see what was featured on my front cover. Another feedback that I got was that the layout of the features on and the cover lines, it was very effective because they weren't too clustered, and it meant that the reader was easily able to see them. Also, they weren't covering the main image, so the artist's face was clear to see. By getting feedback like these, I feel that my decision to change the layout from my initial front cover to how my final front cover looks like now it was a good decision, because I received a lot more positive feedback from my target audience, which meant that I had met their expectations, and I produced something which they would actually buy. My contents page, it followed conventions very closely because I wanted my contents page to look exactly like a professional pop music magazine would look like. So at the top of my page where I have written contents, I initially wrote it to be big and it filled the top of the page. However, later I shrunk the word contents down to make it a little smaller because I wanted to follow conventions, and from the research that I had conducted, I saw that real music magazines used smaller fonts to write the word contents. The text I used for contents was the same as the text I had used for my masthead on my front cover, which was also taken from dafont.com. However, for the color of the text, I had changed it. For example, on the front cover of my pop music magazine, most of the writing was in purple and only the heart was in red. However, for my contents page, on the other hand, I used mostly the color red and made the heart purple instead. I did this because I wanted to keep my magazine consistent, and therefore I used the same colours, the same two feature colours, which were purple and red. Below the word contents, I included 5 images which I had taken myself. I chose to include 5 images on my contents page because of the research I had carried out regarding pop music magazine, and what I found out was that pop music magazines, they use a lot of images of different artists posing in either natural poses or like studio poses. I also saw that real media products, they labeled the images. For example, they gave them a number to show what page that image is on, and to give the reader a highlight of what they would be reading about. So therefore, I followed conventions and added a number to each of the images I had taken. I decided to include the two images which I have placed on the right and the two images which I've placed on the left. I included these because I felt that they would act as a fun factor in the magazine, because the models are posing in different ways from one another, which shows a variety in not only the poses but the various shots that I have used. I felt that these images would be effective to use for the contents page, as my target audience can relate to them. This is because my magazine is aimed towards young girls, like the majority of pop music magazines. The image which I have included in the middle of the other images is of a Danish group. It's a boy band, and this image I took it myself when I had gone to a concert of theirs. I thought that including this image would be effective because from the research that I had carried out on Pop Music Magazine, I found that they all used images of boy bands to intrigue the reader, because the majority of pop magazines are aimed at young girls. So it would act as an incentive to the readers to buy the magazine. I had taken a variety of images of the Danish boy band, but the one I have chosen to put on my contents page was the best so far because it's a very natural pose, and because of the mise-en-scène, the boy band is holding mics. There's music players at the back, and I feel that it works very well with the theme of a pop music magazine. Below these images, I have included a rectangular box in which I have included the features that will be in the music magazine. The numbers and the text included in this box, they follow a color scheme of red and black. I chose to do this because from looking at real media texts, I saw that all of the contents pages in pop magazines followed this kind of color scheme idea. I thought that this was effective because it would help to bring out my contents page as a whole. I feel that by following a pattern of the color red and black was very effective, because I feel it's the main thing which stands out the most on my contents page. Also, because it follows conventions, that's why it makes my contents page look as if it's from a real media text. Initially, I had not decided to include an editor's note, but after research I had conducted, I thought that it would be better if I did include an editor's note, because it would mean that I'm following conventions very closely, and this would result in making my contents page and my magazine as a whole look very professional. I feel that including an editor's note is essential, and it should be included because it gives the reader an insight of what they will be reading about in the magazine. This is effective because it gives a summary of each feature included, and also because mostly all of the pop magazines which I have researched, they all include an editor's note, and because I wanted to follow conventions, that's why I included an editor's note. By following conventions throughout my contents page, it resulted in making it look very eye-catching and also at the same time looking very professional. The image which I have included on my DPS was very suitable for the genre of the magazine that I'm writing for. This is because similarly, like my front cover image, this image is also very girly and it's a really fun pose, which my target audience, their age range, would prefer and like. For this image too, I adjusted the colours of my model's lipstick, and I made it the same shade of red which I had used on my front cover and contents page. I also changed the colour of my model's top from burgundy to purple, which I had previously done for my front cover image, as purple was one of my feature colours, and also because I had already used the colour purple. By making the model's lips brighter and changing the colour of her top, the image resulted in looking much vibrant and eye-catching than it had previously. It also fitted in with my music genre because of the girly colours and also because of the way the model was posing. For my double page spread, headline and stand first, I took inspiration from a music magazine DPS of Jessie J, as I felt that the layout was very effective and eye-catching. In the real media text, the artist's name was written in black, and they had written underneath it Superstar Rising in the colour orange, and the stand first below that was also written in black. I followed this convention, and I also wrote Hannah K, which is my artist's name, in black. Beneath that, I wrote the new singing sensation. I chose to make this the colour red because, like the Jessie J DPS, they had written it in orange, but I chose to write it in red because red is one of my feature colours, and also because I wanted to make my magazine look consistent. The stand first, which I have included on my DPS, was written in the colour black because, again, I wanted to follow conventions of the music magazine DPS which I had found, and I felt that it was really appealing. I also wanted to keep the colour scheme going of red and black, which I had used on my contents page for the numbers and the text for the features that will be included in the magazine. Again, I used the same shade of red which I had used for my model's lipstick, which I had photoshopped, as this resulted in the DPS as a whole to pop out. For the main body of my DPS, I decided to include an introductory paragraph because the DPS that I took inspiration from, it also included an introductory paragraph, and I thought that was effective because as my artist is an upcoming artist, I wanted my readers to get a brief insight of her background, which I have included in that introductory paragraph. I chose to make this introductory paragraph the colour purple because purple is another feature colour as well as red, and also because I had not used the colour purple in my DPS as yet. That's why I thought that making the introductory paragraph purple would show consistency between the colours and throughout the magazine as well. For the questions I have written on my DPS, I also made them the colour purple because previously, that like I had done for my contents page, I had made a pattern of two colours, and I wanted to do a similar thing for my DPS. Therefore, I used the colour scheme of purple and black for the artist's responses. So the questions were written in purple and the responses were in black. I thought that this made my DPS look very effective because it was appealing to my target audience from the feedback that I received, and also because it didn't make the reader lose focus from the main artist image. Towards the end of the interview, I have also included a quote which says, "Stop waiting for things to happen, go out and make them happen." I chose to make this quote the colour red because I really wanted it to stand out like the main image and the part where I had written the new singing sensation in red. I chose to use the colour red because it helps the quote to pop out, and also because it would help catch the eye of my reader, which is what I intended to do. I feel that my DPS follows conventions very closely because I had taken inspiration from another pop music magazine and tried to follow the same structure that they had used to make my magazine seem more professional. Also, overall, I feel that all three pages, the front cover, contents page, and the DPS, they all follow conventions quite closely, which results in making my magazine look of a high quality and standard, and also because it meets the expectations of my target audience, which is the main thing that I wanted to achieve, and I think I have achieved this. This is because my magazine looks consistent and very. I feel that it looks professional because it looks like all three of the pages are part of the same magazine.